Hello everyone, I'm Tyler, a CCNA mentor in the CBT Nuggets learner community. I'm going to show you how to get started with your lab gear. Now that you've worked with the console, how do we access it remotely? We're going to give you a jump start so you can start learning, not struggling. So here's my switch. In the front you'll see a bunch of Ethernet ports. So take your patch cable, this is an RJ45 jack, right there. That's what it looks like, and plug it into port 1 of the switch. It can be any port, but let's just keep it simple. Take the other end of that patch cable and plug it directly into your computer. As you insert it, it should click into place. Make sure there's a solid connection between the switch and the computer. So I'm not going to show you how to set up Telnet or SSH. I know the trainers do a pretty good job, but I did want to cover a couple troubleshooting tips and things that I've ran into that have caused me so much grief and hours of wasted time. Because I want you learning, not sitting there pulling out your hair. So number one is to never ever underestimate the physical layer. I remember back in the day, I didn't even know what a crossover cable was. Bless the mods on this one for them. I was giving them links like, hey, should I buy this? Will this work? And they said, yeah, that'll work. So there are actually some good people out there still. So again, never ever underestimate the physical layer. So if you're connecting your switch to the computer, make sure you use a straight through patch cable. And for example, if you're connecting two switches together, use a crossover patch cable. So again, it's very important to have the right cable type. Another tip is to make sure it's not a bad cable. So if it doesn't work, the lights don't turn on, try using a different patch cable, and you could try and unplug and plug the port back in to make sure there's a solid connection between the contacts. Make sure that, again, there's a solid connection. And if it still doesn't turn on, there are a couple of other things that we can definitely try. So I'm assuming that you have a console connection to your switch here. And let's take a look at the configuration. Show run. This is a popular command that a lot of people be using most of the time. So there shouldn't be anything configured on port 1, should be blank. I'm assuming that you're starting from a blank configuration and you've just set up Telnet or SSH. So what we'll need to check is the physical layer, make sure that the port is up. So we'll do a show IP interface brief. So you'll want to see an up and up status for the port that you're connected to, and if you're setting Telnet or SSH, you'll need a virtual interface. This is VLAN 1, and make sure that's up and up. If they're not up and up, there's an easy way to turn them on. So we'll go to configure terminal, and then let's start with the port. So interface fast Ethernet 1, and we'll do a no shutdown. So I know this is a double negative, but basically you're just telling the switch to turn on the port. That's it. And we'll do the same for interface VLAN 1. We'll do a no shutdown. So at this point, your ports will turn green on the switch, and on the computer it should light up. So just make sure that you have physical layer connectivity. That's the most important. Once we get that, the next step is to make sure that you are on the same IP subnet. So let's take a look at the IP address I assigned for the switch, and let's make note of that. So write that down, make note of that, and let's check out the computer I'm connected to. So each operating system is different. I would just Google it, how to change the IP address on your operating system. But they're pretty much all the same. It's not too bad. And make sure that you are on the same subnet as the switch. You can have any IP address configured as long as you are on the same subnet as the switch and the IP addresses are unique. You can't assign .1 to the switch and .1 to the computer. Again, they have to be unique. It can be anything. 151 here I have. It could be, the switch could be 121. As long as they're unique and within the same subnet, you should be good. So if that looks good, your subnet, a layer 3 connectivity should be good. So before we start doing anything crazy, let's make sure that we can actually communicate with our switch. Let's see if we can actually reach it. So we'll open up a command prompt, In Linux, you might open up your terminal and use the ping command. So we'll go ahead and try and ping the switch here. So you can see it's working properly. If it's still not working, I would also turn off the firewall. So I can't tell you how many times where I'm trying to ping something and it turns out to be the firewall is blocking everything. So make sure, at least for now, just turn it off to eliminate that as a potential problem. So make sure you check the physical layer, make sure it's up, make sure you check the subnet you're on, and make sure the firewall is off if it's causing you grief. So now that we can actually ping the device, let's open up PuTTy. So this is a popular program that a lot of people use, and we'll connect with Telnet. So put in the IP address of the switch and Telnet. So we're going to hit open, and looks like it's working. So I'm going to type in my password, and there we go. You can see the configuration and make changes to the switch over the network. I think that's pretty cool. As you can see, it's working. I think that's awesome. That's all we have for this video. If you are still not able to get it to work, please reach out to me via the direct message link on the left side of your Slack window. And if you're interested in working with a mentor for CCNA, please message me.